What's up guys, my name is Robin and welcome to our first ever topic video on my channel RobzarrGoesRawr. Now I want to say this is not the first ever topic video I've ever done. Before you guys say anything, I know when Ben was on the channel we used to do topics weekly, and I wanted to bring it back because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about that aren't necessarily film or TV related, and they're just random and they're just stuff that I want to rant about basically. So that's why this has come back. It's the first ever one for a while, I guess. The first ever one since the channel change. It's going to be a brand new thing, hopefully, and I'm hoping it's going to work really well. Now that I've said it's not, I want to talk about stuff that isn't necessarily film and TV based. I am actually going to be talking about film in this episode. We're going to be talking about Marvel versus DC in the cinematic universe for the films coming out in 2016. Now, for those of you who have been following the kind of like trail of epicness that is coming out for films this year, you'll know that for people like me, 2016 is the year of the geek as far as films go. We have got so many cool films coming out. A few have come out already. It's going to be an amazing year for cinema. Not just inside of Marvel and DC, but we got Star Wars, we got the last film in the Divergent series, I think it's called Allegiant or something. I can't remember the name exactly, but I loved the book, I loved the first two films, and I'm really excited for that. And on top of that, we've got the Assassin's Creed movie, we've got Warcraft, which is based on World of Warcraft. We have got a lot of films coming out this year that are going to be freaking awesome. But for now, let's just talk about the cinematic universe for Marvel and the cinematic universe for DC. And by the end of this video, I want to have said my views on which I think is going to be strongest this year. Now, we all know Marvel and their cinematic universe has been planning the Infinity Wars, which is going to be coming up in 2017, 2018, I think, since the Incredible Hulk movie. And I can't even remember what year that came out, it was so long ago, but it has been a plan for years that aren't even upon us yet. You know, it's been a long old timeline, and we've had film after film after film after film, which are eventually going to be building up to this Infinity Wars two-part film thing that they're doing, which is freaking awesome. So basically, Marvel have been dominating the superhero cinematic universe for the last 10 years. I don't know if that's right or not, but roughly 10 years, I think. Whereas DC have made... the thing is with DC is they've made some amazing films, but they haven't really amounted to anything. I mean, we had the Dark Knight trilogy, which was amazing. That being said, I do still prefer the original Batman series that Tim Burton did, apart from Batman and Robin, because that film was fucking diabolical. The original Tim Burton series, because I'm a comic book fan, and that was more true to the comic books. The Dark Knight series, the Dark Knight trilogy, was a brilliant trilogy. It was a more realistic way of looking at it, but the way they portrayed some of the characters and the backgrounds of some of the characters was obviously wrong. So from a comic book fan's point of view, I still prefer the old films, but from someone who is a fan of Batman, they are still like brilliant films. And my favourite film out of all of them actually is Batman Begins, because it's the first time we actually see Batman become Batman. We still see Bruce Wayne become Batman. Hello Sif, are you back again? Hello Sif. So, on top of that, we've had Man of Steel, which was a brilliant, like, finally we have a good, solid reboot of Superman. We've also had films like Green Lantern, which I'm not going to go into because it was diabolical and the whole cast was... like, it wasn't cast wrong. I think Ryan Reynolds did the best he could with a bad film script. But the film was written badly and they got the characters within the film wrong and stuff like that. So that was an awful film. But DC this year are fighting back with all that they can muster to try and take back some of the cinematic superhero world that is rightfully theirs. Now, as of right now when I'm recording this, we've had Deadpool, which I've seen. It's incredible. I am actually going to do a film talk on Deadpool, not tomorrow but next week, and we'll talk about that film more in depth. But we've had Deadpool, which was awesome. I loved it. There are a few things that I'm unsure about, but again, I'll talk about that in film talk next week. So we've had Deadpool. We've got, what have we got coming out from Marvel? We've got Civil War, which is putting Captain America and Iron Man against each other. We've got, oh, what else is coming out this year? There's loads of them. X-Men Apocalypse, which we see more of the, it's another prequel one to the first one, so we see more of the X-Men in their younger forms. And we've got Doctor Strange. Was that Marvel or DC? Doctor Strange is Marvel, right? I'm having a mind blank. I'm having oh god. Doctor Strange. Let me look this up. Yeah, Marvel. So we've got Doctor Strange coming out, which actually is the film I'm most excited about from Marvel this year, because one, Benedict Cumberbatch is in it, and for those of you that know me, you know how much I love that man. He's freaking phenomenal. And Doctor Strange is a superhero that hasn't previously been approached. So it's kind of like it's a brand new thing. I'm just trying to pull up because there's a picture running around Facebook of all the films that are coming up this year. I've had a blank now that I'm actually talking about this. I've had a blank. And I will be cutting all of this out anyway. Okay. Okay, and on top of that, we've also got the Gambit film coming out. I don't really know what I think about Gambit. I think Gambit is part of the X-Men universe, and I'll be honest, I haven't been a fan of the X-Men mutant films, the last few. It's been a bit iffy. I think I still prefer the original films. My favourite X-Men film is actually the third one, Last Stand, so I don't know what that's going to be about. I'm actually quite looking forward to X-Men Apocalypse, though. That's going to be good, I think. I think that's the last film that they're going to do before it actually ties up with X-Men, the first film. So that should be good, hopefully. So Marvel have actually got some, as always, really great films coming out this year. So yeah, Marvel have got some fantastic films coming out this year, as you know, as they always do, building up this kind of world that is going to eventually all collide into the Infinity Wars films. That being said, DC have got Batman vs Superman coming out, and they've got Suicide Squad coming out. Now, I have a problem with Batman vs Superman. I think it's going to be an amazing film, but I have a problem with it as a kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? As a kind of like the whole premise about putting a new Batman into everything already is kind of like a bit iffy in the back of my mind. But again, I'm doing a film talk about that, which is going to be in not next week, the week after, which I'm going to do. Hopefully it'll be out just in time for after the Batman vs Superman film comes out, so I'll actually have seen it and actually be able to talk about it properly. So I'm actually going to do a film talk on that, so I'm not going to go into too much depth on Batman vs Superman today. So we've got Batman vs Superman coming out, and we've got Suicide Squad. Now, I think Suicide Squad on its own is going to win the battle between Marvel and DC in the cinematic universe this year. I think that film is going to be the best film that comes out this year, full stop. They've got brilliant cast, and, you know, Harley Quinn is finally getting her first ever actual film appearance, which is huge for DC fans, because I'm a DC fan. I love the Marvel universe, and like the cinematic universe especially. They've done an amazing job of setting all these films up for something that isn't going to come for years and years, and they've kept the storyline completely true to itself, and that's amazing. But now that that's coming to an end, basically, it's time for DC to step up and show them how it's done, basically, because I've always thought the Justice League is a stronger unit than the Avengers, but that's just kind of like, I know I'm going to get so much hate for doing this video. I've always thought the Justice League is stronger than the Avengers, but that's just me as a DC fan. I think that DC have got a lot riding on the films that are coming out this year for them, and I actually think the strongest film for them, despite the fact Batman vs Superman is basically the start of their Justice League journey, I think Suicide Squad is actually going to be their stronger film, because it's more based around, obviously it's actually all based around the villains, and I personally don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what story they're going to tell. I don't know how they're going to introduce the Joker into it, because there's about 3 or 4 different stories for the Suicide Squad, obviously written about in the comics. I don't know which one they've chosen. Whereas for Batman vs Superman, yes, it's called Batman vs Superman, but we know by the end of it that Batman and Superman will have to team up against Lex Luthor, because there's a Justice League film coming out. So neither of them two die. You know, they end up. You know, anyone who knows the Batman vs Superman story knows that there is only one. And yes, they go head to head at one point, but at the end of the day, they still form the Justice League. So there's a lot less mystery kind of going around the Batman vs Superman film than there is the Suicide Squad film. No one knows how far Jared Leto is going to take the Joker, and that is what is really, really pinning my hopes on the Suicide Squad being as good as it can be, because Jared Leto, like Heath Ledger, he's a method actor. He's done things like send dead birds and stuff to like fellow cast members just to get into that role of the Joker. He has done some completely outrageous things, quite frankly, to make sure that he portrays the Joker as well as he can, and I think personally that they couldn't have chosen a better person to play the Joker. My problem is with DC is that perhaps they're doing everything too soon after the Dark Knight trilogy. Even though I still preferred Jack Nicholson's Joker, like I said, to Heath Ledger's, I don't know. My theory is that the Suicide Squad is going to be is going to be kept completely separate to the actual Justice League story that they're going to take. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know, because I have heard rumour that Ben Affleck's Batman is going to be in the Suicide Squad very briefly. But I think the film, as it's going to be, I think the film is going to be a standalone film. I think that Batman vs Superman is going to be a stronger start to the Justice League journey than Marvel had with the Incredible Hulk film, and their film series has still been as successful as it is. Sorry, I can't get my words out. But I think that Batman vs Superman is a stronger start. And then of course we've got the Aquaman film coming out, we've got the Wonder Woman film coming out, we've got these TV shows with the Flash, we've got the Arrow TV show, we've got Supergirl. I don't know whether them actors are going to be used, but we have kind of like, I think there's a Flash film coming out in 2017 actually, but we have this kind of like starting point, and then we're going to get a backlog, whereas we had with Avengers it was a kind of like origin story for each person, and then we have the Avengers series, whereas this one we're going to get a film with Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman in, and then we're going to get, like, obviously we know Batman's backstory, we know Superman's backstory. It's kind of baffling that they're using a new Batman with the same Superman as the last one, because that Superman was supposed to be in the same universe as Christian Bale's Batman. But that's, you know, I'm going to talk about that more in my Batman vs Superman film talk in a couple of weeks' time. But they've then got Wonder Woman coming in, but we don't know anything about Wonder Woman's backstory as far as the cinematic universe goes. I know about Wonder Woman's backstory, but we don't know, as film viewers, we don't know anything about what backstory they're going to tell. So Wonder Woman has a film coming out. Aquaman, like I said, Aquaman is, if they do it right, if they make him badass, it will be really cool. But Aquaman's kind of been the laughingstock of the DC universe for a long time now, and that's in no small part thanks to the Big Bang Theory TV show, when Raj dressed up as Aquaman for that Halloween costume, when they won first prize of the Justice League or whatever. It is in no small part thanks to that costume, because it was hilarious where he was riding the seahorse. But do I think this year is going to be dominated by Marvel or DC? I think, despite it's tough, because the Avengers series as a whole, all leading up to the Infinity Wars, my problem is with that now is that they're now going to have to introduce Guardians of the Galaxy, the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, into the Avengers world. They're going to have to introduce some kind of Spider-Man. They're going to have to introduce Wolverine at some point if they want this Infinity War to be true to how it is. And I can just see it going into a big mess of stuff, and there's going to be too many people, and I think it might end up being too much for them. But with DC, they've kept it short and sweet. We're going to introduce 3 characters, and we're going to give them all their own films. There's not going to be any more different universes. Everyone is just going to come together at the end, because the Justice League is just the Justice League as it is. You know, there's Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Green Arrow. Who else is there? There's a few more. Does that mean we're going to get another Green Arrow film? I hope not. And if we do, it better be good, basically. But I think, I don't know, I'm in two minds, because I think Marvel's cinematic presence as far as superhero films go is so strong now. They've had so many successes after, like, one after another. They haven't had an unsuccessful film apart from Incredible Hulk, which was awful. They haven't had an unsuccessful film in the Avengers series at all. But DC have now kind of put into motion this, like, I've always found DC films to be a lot more epic And Marvel comic films, they are a lot more kind of like humor based. They're a lot more based around the comics, which is good, which is what I like. So I'm hoping that DC actually do manage that this time round, because they didn't manage it with The Dark Knight, which is fair, because they wanted a more realistic view of kind of like the universes that are within these comic books. But do I think DC is going to be over Marvel this year? I do, I really do. I think in the 2 films they've got coming out, they will outshadow, especially Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad's going to outshadow Batman vs Superman, easy. I think Suicide Squad is going to be the film that puts DC back on the podium for superhero films. And I think Suicide Squad is going to be the best film this year, full stop. Like, there are some amazing films coming out this year, but I think Suicide Squad is going to be the film to see this year. I worry about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and where it's going now, because it's at such a pinnacle point where we are going to have to start losing characters that we've grown to know and love, in order for these other universes to collide with the Avengers cast to be able to make the Infinity Wars. So I worry that that's going to end up being a little messy. I think DC have got a solid start introducing Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman at the same time, even though I have my doubts about it. I think that's a solid thing to be doing, and I just think the Suicide Squad is going to be the film that puts DC back on the map. And it's strange, because I personally don't think that's going to have anything to do with the Justice League story that they're going to start telling with Batman vs Superman. I think Suicide Squad, like I say, is going to be completely different, but I think that is going to be the film that puts them back on the podium that they were on when the Dark Knight trilogy came out. It's a brand new, fresh look at the Joker. It's a brand new, and the thing about it is, it's a brand new look at people and characters within the DC universe that we haven't seen before, you know, in film. It's completely new. Whereas we've seen a lot of the people, you know, the people that are in Marvel now, it's just kind of the same people over and over again. And yes, we're going to see new characters like Doctor Strange and Gambit and Black Panther that are going to be in Civil War, I think. But they have done this thing where they've given us Batman vs Superman, which is going to be the start of a Justice League story, and they've said, here's a load of other characters as well. This isn't going to have anything to do with Batman vs Superman, but get to know these characters as well. Get to know our universe that we are working in. And that's what I think Suicide Squad is about, because the only character in there that everyone knows about in the cinematic universe is the Joker. All the other cast members and all the other characters these people are playing never ever had film coverage before, ever. And I think it's been a long time waiting for Harley Quinn to have one, and I think Margot Robbie, who they've got to play her, is going to be absolutely perfect, even though they haven't got the voice going on. It's going to be good. So do I think DC is going to trump Marvel? I do. Please don't hate me, Marvel fans, for saying that. I think the reason it's taken so long for DC to come back is because they've been working on these projects that are going to be so top class, that because they knew what they were up against with Marvel. They know how successful Marvel is. Everyone knows how successful Marvel is. Their non-stop line of success after success after success with the Avengers series was probably a really daunting thing for DC to come back and be like, we need to make some more films. So I can't imagine that they would make bad films if they knew that's what they were rivaling with. They would have to make films that do what Marvel do and then some. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I think Batman vs Superman even is going to be better than some of the Marvel films we're going to see this year. Like I said, it won't be as good as Suicide Squad. I don't think it's going to be as good as Suicide Squad, because it's basically an origin story for the Justice League. But I think they are going to have, as soon as the Batman vs Superman film comes out next month, it's going to be, I say next month, it's going to be this month by the time you actually watch this video. For me, it's next month. by the time that actually comes out, it's going to be bam, we are back. This is our set of characters, get to know them, because we're going to take this, because there's not actually that long between now, when Batman vs Superman is coming out in March, and Justice League film. There's not that long. I think they plan the Justice League Part 1 for next year or the year after, and in between them we're going to have this solid train of characters that are going to be introduced in order for them to be in the Justice League Part 1 film, and then we're going to have a few more in order for Justice League Part 2 to work. And the good thing about that is that they're not making us wait. We haven't got all of these characters to remember. We're going to have just a set of characters that we know are in the Justice League. There's not going to be all these extras flying around. There's not going to be all of these kind of like untold stories of whoever and whatever. It's just going to be, this is your Justice League. They're going to give them one film, and then they're going to throw us right into the action. And that's what's exciting, is we don't, you know, we're going to get to know these characters within their battles with each other. And it's not going to be a case of they're going to get 3 films and then there's going to be a story. You know, it's not going to be like that. We're going to have 1 film per character, and then we're going to be thrown right into the action. And I think that's what the good thing is, because like, it's taken a long time for Marvel to get where they are, and yes, it's worked, and yes, it's been amazing, but there's only so much they can show of a character before they have to kill them off. With what DC are doing, they are just throwing everybody right in there, and it's a lot more exciting because it's less predictable, and we don't know who they're going to call up on and when. But with Marvel and how they've done it, we kind of know that this is going to be happening here, this is going to happen here, that means this person's going to have to come in, blah 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 blah. Like, I can predict what's going to happen for the next lot of Marvel films. I can do that because I know because I've watched every Marvel film that's come out. You know, I know what's going to happen because it's following a very strict storyline, which is great. But there's no excitement about it. There's no mystery. There's no wanting to find out more because you already know what's going to happen. With DC and how they're doing it, like Suicide Squad aside, with how they're going to do the Justice League film, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to cause. I mean, we know Batman and Superman are going to have to eventually team them up for the Justice League film to happen, and we know it's going to be at the arms of Lex Luthor that they're going to have to do that. But we don't know on what circumstances they're going to do that. We don't know how far they're going to push each other before they have to team up. We don't know, and you know, everyone that's seen the trailers, we know we know that Batman feels like he's getting, Bruce Wayne, sorry, feels like he's getting too old to be Batman. So he's got this new suit. We don't know what's going to happen, you know? We are basically being thrown smack bang into the action here with the film is called The Dawn of Justice. So we are getting a first glimpse at what the Justice League film is going to be about. We're getting introduced to the 3 main characters of the Justice League, the 3 main people that run the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. We are getting that straight, we are being thrown right into the action, and then they'll be like, here's some backstory for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and then throwing us right back in again with the Justice League film. There's no massive wait in between, and I think that is what's going to make DC's Justice League series as a whole so much more successful than the Avengers series, that there's that mystery behind it. We don't know where they're taking it. We're going to be thrown into the action left, right and centre, and we're going to be introduced to characters that we don't have enough time to get to know before we have to get to know them while they're in battle. And that's what makes us really connect with characters, because we get to know them at their worst points. You know, they are fighting for what they believe in, and they're fighting to survive, and that's what's going to make us click with characters. Whereas with Marvel, we've kind of had the stories like kind of 3 films per character, and it's been brilliant, obviously, to do that, but we kind of like, we know what character's going to do what and when, you know, it's very predictable, like I said, but with kind of like keeping that mystery with the DC cast that they've got with the Justice League films, we don't know how each character's going to react. It's going to be a new thing every time we see a film. It's going to be brand new, and we're not going to know enough about the characters to be able to predict what they're going to do next. We don't know enough about the characters to predict how they're going to react to something that's going to happen. And you know, there's that unknown about it, and that's what's really exciting about the Justice League series that's coming up, is that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how the characters are going to react. We don't know how they're going to react with each other. We don't know how they're going to react with the environments around them. We don't know how they're going to react to each other's powers. We don't know who the villain is here. We are 2 years, at least, off of the Infinity Wars film, and we've known who the villain is. We've known who they're going to be going up against for the last year and a half in the Marvel series, and that's the thing. We don't know. We have no idea what's happening with the Justice League. It's just bam, bam, bam. You're in the action. Get used to it. Get used to this character. Get used to this character. Nobody knows anything, and that's what the most exciting part is it's just a blank in everyone's head. No one knows what's going to happen, so when it happens, it's just going to be like, well, shit, this is what's going down now, I better get used to this. It's going to be freaking awesome, and that's just Batman vs Superman. Do you know what I mean? There's no prediction. I can't predict. Like, I've read the Batman vs Superman comic books, I've read the Justice League comic books, I've read most of the DC comic books actually, and you know, I can't say for sure where I think this story is going to go, because it's going to go everywhere. But Marvel has got, yeah, they've got a solid story. They've got a solid story that's been worked out and fantastic, but there's no mystery behind it anymore, you know? And considering they're still so far off from getting to the Infinity Wars, I think it was a bad move for them to say at this point, when they probably know that DC are going to throw back some Justice League action in their face, for them to say this is what's going to happen now, just come along for the ride. I don't know. And on top of that, they got the Suicide Squad, obviously, which is going to be the best film, I think, this year, purely because of the new characters that we haven't seen. So that's going to be a whole brand new thing that we don't know how they're going to interact with each other, and we don't know how far they're going to take each of the characters. I think the Joker is going to be phenomenal. I think Harley Quinn is going to be spot on, and then we've got all the other characters as well, and I think we're going to see the journey between Harley Quinn, member of Suicide Squad, and Harley Quinn plus one of the Joker, I guess, because on the back of her jacket, before she even I think it's in the film, before she even meets the Joker, it says Property Joker. So I don't know what they're planning on doing for there to be some kind of connection there, because she must have some kind of connection for her to have a jacket that says Property of the Joker on it, you know, before she even goes in and battles the guy. So I don't know. It's gonna be a whirlwind of kind of unknown with DC, and that's really, really, really exciting. And that's where I think that they're gonna completely dominate the cinematic universe this year. Whereas Marvel, you can kind of see what path they're taking, and yeah, it's a great path. Nothing bad to say about it. But we know what they're doing now, and that's less exciting than having this unknown in the back of your head thinking what's going to happen next. So, overall, DC is going to win this year for me. Please don't hate me, Marvel fans. I do love the Marvel series. I love the Avengers film, cinematic universe. I do love it. I just think it's going to be, like, DC's fresh take on the Justice League and the Suicide Squad is going to be what wins me over this year for superhero films. So yeah, that's it for me. So if you've got anything you'd like to add, or any hate you'd like to throw at me, just leave it in the comments below. I'll make sure I respond to them as much as I can. That's going to be it from me for this video. I will be talking more in depth about the Suicide Squad, Deadpool, and Batman vs Superman in film talk over the next few weeks. Tomorrow I will be talking about Suicide Squad, actually. Next week I'll be talking about Deadpool, and the week after that I will be talking very much more in depth about Batman vs Superman, and then we'll go from there. Next week on topics, I'm going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is the West End production of the next Harry Potter story that J.K. Rowling has written, that is coming out this year. So I'm going to be talking about that. Give a little bit of difference, because, you know, topics, like I said, I don't want topics to purely be about films, TVs and stuff like that. I want to talk about some other different stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. So yeah, I ended up going on a bit of a rant there, I'm sorry. That was probably really kind of disjointed. I don't know how this would have been set up for final edit. At the moment it's just kind of me ranting at a camera, but I'm hoping to have done some funky editing for you guys to see. But yeah, that's going to be it from me for this video. If there's any topics you want me to talk about, At some point I am going to be approaching the topic about FNAF World and how awful that was and how disappointed I am about that. At some point I'm going to do that, but I need to kind of work up the courage to actually say what I want to say, because I love the original FNAF series, but FNAF World was just no. So I'm going to do a video on that eventually. I need to get some more information about that before I do anything, really. But if there's any other topics you want me to talk about, then just leave them in the comments below. I'll see what I can do about getting them into a video. And yeah, that's going to be it from me. Make sure you keep an eye out for the rest of the videos that are coming out this week. And until the next time you hear from me, guys, as always, stay classy, gamers. Stay classy.